next speaker will be presenting one of the way that Senegal is pursuing. He's going to be presenting this Senegal Sovereign Wealth Fund. When we say sovereign fund, one might think about Middle East. Well, Senegal doesn't have oil, but it has to use the best resources that it has, and it's human capital. Mr. HOTT, and HOTT is H-O-T-T. Mr. HOTT, you take it away.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Excellency Ministre Cissé, Excellency the ambassadors, delegates, friends, members of the delegation from Senegal. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present one of the new instruments that the government of Senegal has put in place to help finance the economy, but also help co-invest with investors. The three new instruments are basically the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Senegal, which I will present in details, but we have two other new instruments as well. The FONGIP, which is the Fond de Guarantee that provides guarantees to SMEs so that the SMEs can raise money from commercial banks or from the new instrument called BNDE, which is Banque Nationale Développement Économique. And FONGIP also provides cheap resources to the banks so that the banks can on-lend to SMEs at cheap rates. Local lending rates are typically very high, usually around 10, 12, sometimes even 14%. But FONGIP gets funding from the government, from multilateral agencies, put deposits into banks, cheap deposits, maybe at 2 or 3%, and maximum 30% by state-owned entities, because we have some state-owned entities that have cash that can invest in this sovereign fund, which is a state investment company, a sort of development institution as well. And Francis was projects, and to be a developer of projects, to be the catalyst for projects, so that foreign investors, local investors can find ready-made projects that will require equity and debt. So I will come into details. Francis started in October when I was appointed Chief Executive Officer, but a law created Francis. It is the law 12-12-34. We decided to create Francis by law to make it very, and the 6 others will be professionals to make sure that Francis is run like a private enterprise. Francis actually has a capital that is set up by law, let's say resources, 500 billion CFA, which is $1 billion. But the law says the majority of those resources should be assets from government, because Senegal is not a country that has excess of resources like the sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East and so on and so forth. Typically, sovereign wealth funds are created by countries that have excess, budgetary excess, oil revenue, mineral resources, or maybe trade excesses, like China, for example, has sovereign wealth funds that have trillions of dollars of capital. In the Middle East, you have hundreds of billions of dollars. The first country that has done this kind of structure that we have done now is Singapore. Singapore is known for being a well-run state, efficient, hardworking, innovative. So we decided to start our sovereign wealth fund with assets transferred by the government to the fund, because the government doesn't have mineral resources, but has many assets that potentially could yield a lot of returns, and state-owned shares in state-owned entities. It may be minority shareholding of government, but also land, but also royalties for mineral assets. It could be gold companies. It could be also zircon. The government of Senegal, for example, owns 27% of Sonatel, which is one of the biggest telecom companies in West Africa, listed with a 27% worth of about $1.7 billion listed on the stock market. and this, it generates about $80 million of dividend. So if government transfers some of it to the FONSIS can use those cash flow to raise money on the local or international market and to invest equity into new projects. So this is one of the ways we are trying to raise the resources for FONSIS. We can also provide issue diaspora bonds, because the Senate is an instrument to capture some of those remittances as well. Also, we are looking for partnership with the development institution to raise the capital. FONSIS, therefore, is an active investor, would therefore manage actively its asset to generate, first of all, financial returns and then social returns. So any project that we invest in must have financial return. And we have a small threshold, which is smaller than the private equity because we are a development institution. Therefore, if a project has an IRR of around, let's say, 10% or 11% net IRR, it is interesting for us, but it may not be interesting for you. So this is sort of our minimum threshold because we want the IRR to cover our cost of capital. And the FONSIS, therefore, will also, by law, the law says that FONSIS should invest in SMEs. Investing in SMEs. Our strategy is to match the vision of Senegal in Plan Sénégal Émergent that Ministre Cissé mentioned. Those 27 projects that are in Plan Sénégal Émergent, our objective is to be a developer, a co-investor in those projects with local and foreign investors. So some of those projects, we can be the initial developer, put the money that is required to do feasibility studies, to pass the developmental phase, and to reach a bankability phase where the financial investor or even strategic investor, initially we can earn them 100%, and then later on we can be diluted. When your money comes in as equity, we can end up earning only 10% of a company. It doesn't matter. What we want is to make sure that many projects are being well structured, because often we talk about opportunities, potential, but difficult to realize the potential. So we are saying, let's put money early stage in new projects, bring them to bankability, go on roadshows to attract equity investors, so that when your project comes to us, we have people that have the knowledge to challenge the project, to help it become bankable. And we have also financial analysts and so on and so forth that can help as well. When we decided to set up the FONSIS, the nice weather and so on and so forth, we need to show credible projects, because otherwise the money will not flow in. We can talk for 5 years. If it's not well structured, equity defined, let's say debt defined, risk identified, risk mitigant identified, it'll be difficult to attract not only equity investors but also debt providers. And debt is very available for Senegal and for Africa, but without the structured project, that debt cannot come in. One thing I would mention for US investors, some institutions in the US are keen to provide debt to projects in Africa, in Senegal specifically. I will mention OPIC, which is a US government institution that can provide up to $250 million per project. The project needs to have roughly 25% US content. Even that constraint can be mitigated, right? Therefore, we are inviting you to come to Senegal, co-invest with us on project, and then be able to raise debt from OPIC or from AFDB, IDB, and so on and so forth. These are the key sectors that we invest in, so the major sectors of the economy, especially sectors that create jobs. APIX and FONSIS work also hands in hand. APIX is the investment promotion agency and big project. They will make a presentation shortly. So we work hands in hands into project. We invest, then they promote the investment. This is some of the structures we can use on an infrastructure projects, where the state signed with FONSIS. FONSIS does a BOT with a new JV with the foreign investor. And together, we raise debt, put in equity. The debt can come from all these institutions that I've mentioned that are on the left. You see that OPIC is well positioned. Basically, in agriculture, the same kind of structure we can propose. All sectors, basically, renewable energy. We want to invest in renewable energy and sell the electricity to Senegal. We want to co-invest with you. We don't mind to be a minority shareholder. We put our own equity, be on your side, and together we raise the debt, because we will not invest 100% equity in a project. We always would have to add leverage to it. This is our governance. As you see, we have the investment committee, the audit and risk committee, the appointment and remuneration committee. We have a team of the investment team, has some financiers, as I said, but also some people who know the sectors very well. This is just quickly my background: 15 years investment banking in New York, London, Dubai, and Nigeria. Educated in France and NYU. One of my colleagues that I mentioned, 13 years with Nestle. We're still hiring, depending on the activities of the fund. We have started actually, basically, even if the official launch hasn't been done yet. These are my contacts and my PA's contacts as well, in case you need any information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the vision is clear. One key thing that Mr. Hott said is about FDI. He said FDI needs a credible partner. Lately, Africa has been getting a lot of good press, but when you look at the FDI, in 2012 it was 1.5 trillion, but it was just 4% that went to sub-Saharan Africa. Now that we have an instrument like the fund says, U.S. investors have a partner, a strategic partner to invest in Senegal, and I think that we're ready. The embassy is here. Mr. Hott has given his contacts.